Just ask everyone to move.
Hi, everybody. Could everybody take 6 steps forward? 6 steps. The female athletes don't bite. They've been fed. They've been fed. It's really great. Okay, everyone's ready? Ready? I want to thank you guys for sticking around. This is an absolutely beautiful location. Again, I want to thank Georgetown for providing us basically anything we wanted whenever we wanted it. So I really appreciate that. I wanted to start this night out. You've been seeing today hashtag Rowans Law. I'd like to invite Rowan's parents to come up. And we decided to give them the Pink Concussion Award for their work for their daughter Rowan. And if you are on social media and you can hashtag Rowans Law and sign the petition, if you're involved in sports, and you can, we're trying to peak the social media traffic this week. And so I'd like to give you this.
Oh, thank you so much. That's beautiful. Aw.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Catherine.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay. I think I go first, right?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathleen Stringer, and this is my husband, Gord. I'd really like to thank Catherine for inviting us. The reason why we're involved in this traumatic brain injury is because of our daughter, Rowan. And so I'll start by just telling a bit about her story, and then Gord will explain a bit more about Rowans Law. So we're from Ottawa, Ontario in Canada. The reason we go around to anyone who's willing to hear our story is to get the importance of education about concussions to the biggest audience we can get the message across to. Rowan passed away from second impact syndrome, and I'll begin by telling her story. She was born in 1995, our second daughter, and she was full of energy, more assertive, a born leader, observant, curious, but we realized very early that she needed to be kept busy. So we put her in many sports. She played soccer, she was a swimmer, she played AA ringette, she played lacrosse, she snowboarded. But in grade 11, she found the sport of rugby. And from the gleam in her eye, I knew that this was her favorite right away. In that summer, she actually played club rugby and learned a lot and really excelled. And so in grade 12, she was the captain of her rugby team. She was helping the coaches to teach the plays. She encouraged her teammates, and it was something that she just loved so much. In May of 2013, she had a rugby tournament. In that day, they played 3 shortened games, and she hit her head, and I wasn't aware of it. My other daughter and I were both at the games, but we had gone to Tim Hortons at that moment. She complained of a headache, and she had some Advil, and I thought it might have been the sun. It was a hot, sunny day for May in Ottawa. Sunday, we had a family get-together, and she seemed fine, so I never really gave it another thought, and I'm a registered nurse. Monday, she had a game, and on Facebook, all she posted was huge pictures of her bruised knees, and no mention of anything about her head. What we found out later, though, that she got kicked in the head during that game, and her headache returned. Wednesday, she and her friends had Googled concussion at lunchtime. She wasn't sure if she had one or not. One of her male friends that had them thought, if you had a concussion, you'd know it, and so she sort of thought, well, I guess I don't. She was the captain of her team and a leader, and I think she sort of felt that she should play. So Wednesday, she played a game. Unfortunately, she was swing tackled. When she hit the ground, she sat up, she held her head. Briefly, she fell back and lost consciousness. She was rushed to the Children's Hospital, but unfortunately, she never regained consciousness. We made the difficult choice to stop aggressive treatment, and on Mother's Day, May the 12th, she was pronounced dead. She was sent to the OR, and she was able to donate 6 organs and both of her eyes. It turns out that her head didn't recover from those previous hits, and the swelling was instantaneous in that final hit and caused immediate unconsciousness. And when they came to us and even mentioned the word second impact syndrome, none of the children had ever heard it. None of us knew anything about it. So Gordon and I tell her story in hopes that another family will never have to experience the devastating loss of a child. It forever changes your life. And so we had to make a quick decision that we would start answering those phone calls that came Monday morning and get the media to work on our side to educate everyone. It's a way to honor her short life and her legacy. She dreamed of becoming a nurse and helping children in particular, and we hope that with Rowans Law that we'll have legislation in Ontario and that perhaps it will go to all the provinces in Canada, and then all of Canada, much like the United States, will have legislation in place regarding concussion. And so I'll let Gord speak a bit about the legislation.
As Kathleen mentioned, on May 13th, we started getting phone calls, and this was a surprise to us. We'd been in the hospital for 5 straight days, basically, and weren't really aware of what was going on outside. But the school had, of course, released done a media release regarding her death, and the phone calls started coming Monday morning. However, the first phone call was Trillium Gift of Life, which was, it's the organ donation foundation in Ontario, to let us know that all of her organs and tissues had been utilized. And she had made a difference to 8 people and a better quality of life, and in some cases actually saving their lives. We've had the opportunity to actually meet her lung transplant recipient in person, and she was going to die within hours, and Rowan's lungs saved her. This elevated our spirits a little, actually, at that point in time. It's pretty tough. You're kind of in a haze. But Rowan always wanted to help people, and she was definitely doing it. The phone kept ringing, media wanting to talk to us about Rowan and her story. And as we've said, it was a surprise, and we kind of had to make a quick decision as to what we were going to do. And we decided that we can either huddle away or tell her story in the hopes of having some more positive impact out of a tragic situation. It's also therapeutic for us as parents. It gives us a positive focus in this situation. So over the weeks and months that were coming ahead of us, there were many interviews and articles. We emphasized message on raising awareness around concussions, and we also emphasized a message on organ donation and how important it was. One of those phone calls in the immediate days afterwards were from Chris Nowinski, who we heard from earlier in the session. And he made that tough phone call in our situation, asking for Rowan's brain to study. We were compelled to say yes. I mean, at that point in time, this was something that, it was going to be a benefit. As Chris said, we didn't learn till later that there were so few female brains, but as it turns out, she's one of 7 that are there now. It's a pretty high percentage. It's unfortunate it's such a low number. And as time passed, again, we got a call from the coroner's office in Ottawa. Dr. Charles Tatter, who's a world-renowned neuroscientist, works at the University of Toronto, had requested an inquest into her death to learn the surrounding elements of it as much as they can about it, in the hope of finding out ways to prevent further tragedies of the same in the future. I contacted Dr. Tatter and discussed it with him, and we fully supported his request. So in the spring of last year, May of 2015, there was an inquest into Rowan's death. We welcomed the news that the inquest would be happening, but it brought with it a lot of trepidation. Even after 2 years, there were still things that we didn't know about the events or had very little knowledge of. And we're going to have to relive things all over again with those new details added in. For us, the whole process was emotional, cathartic, painful, educational, heart-wrenching, and in the end, very rewarding. We heard about her text messages to friends, suspecting that she may have a concussion, but she never told an adult. We heard about the hits she had in games previous to May 8th and how those may have been contributing factors to her death. We learned about second impact syndrome and its deadly consequences. We also learned about Bill 39, and that was a bill that was introduced in the Ontario legislature in the fall of 2012, 6 months before Rowan passed. And it was to address the issue of concussions and education regarding proper medical treatment, return to play, return to learn, and raising awareness. That bill died on the legislative agenda. It never saw final reading. We also learned from Dr. Tatter, who did the final report on her death, that, as he put it, her death was preventable. And prevention is a key term here, because it's not to prevent concussions. Concussions are going to happen. It's just a reality. You cannot prevent concussions from ever happening again. But it's prevention of the catastrophic events that can happen due to unrecognized, undiagnosed, and untreated concussion and brain injury. So in the end of the inquest, the jury came up with 49 recommendations. The first recommendation was for the Ontario government to adopt Rowans Law, an act governing all youth sport, both school-based and non-school-based. And this act should recognize the importance of 4 criteria in protecting children and youth. The first being providing education on sports-related concussions to athletes, youth, coaches, and parents. Second, removing a child or youth athlete from play if a concussion is suspected. And suspected is a key word. You don't have to be diagnosed. If there's a suspicion that you may have one, you're to be removed from the game. Ensuring the child or youth does not return to play until he or she has received medical clearance, and ensuring appropriate return to learn and return to play strategies are in place across the board. There's a real patchwork in Ontario and in Canada right now. We need things across the board that are consistent so that every child, when they're going in to receive treatment, is being treated from the same playbook. Since the recommendations were released, we've been working with our local member of provincial parliament, Lisa MacLeod, as well as John Fraser and Catherine Fife, who are members of other political parties. We have 3 political parties in Ontario that are in the legislature. And Rowans Law, the bill, was introduced in the Ontario legislature in November of last year, where it passed first reading. In December, it passed second reading unanimously. However, the work isn't done because we still have to make it through committee and third reading, which are coming up over the next few months. support from organizations such as Catherine's, athletic therapists,